What was a time where you went, fuck it, I'll be an asshole this time? Let me preface this by saying I used to have an eating disorder as a young teen, but have since learned to love myself, and life has gotten much better. Just as I was gaining healthy weight back, I was diagnosed with systemic lupus and my weight has since dropped back down to 86 pounds, despite my efforts to eat everything I can. An old man in line at the grocery store, who probably just had no filter, called me a skinny little twig bird first of all, what? And told me to put some meat on my bones. After everything I've been through to get to this point, and being poked at by a stranger being the least helpful thing about the situation, I snapped and just told him, yeah, it's kind of hard when you might be dying of autoimmune disorders. For the record, I'm not dying, but I'm not living well either, and I was just done. He shut up, and I left with my cat treats and trash bags. It felt great. I guess you could say you went sicko mode. Wish I could have seen that. Naughty old farts deserve no respect. I'm a mom, and I was having a very lame Mother's Day. I felt like I was the only one ready to celebrate Mother's Day. My husband, trying to cheer me up, sent me to DQ to get whatever I wanted and something for him. We have kids, so it's nice to go somewhere by yourself. Went inside and waited long line. I order, my total is 10.52. I gave her exact cash. Then she had trouble with the register, and trouble with the register meant she had no idea what my change was anymore. She asked the manager to help, and he pulled out a CR card pin pad and said, here's a calculator. She said no, and he shrugged and walked away. She then handed me a $10 bill and 50 cents. With not a lot of confidence she says, here's your change. We are giving eye contact. We both know something is not right. But I said, okay thanks. I figured with my lame Mother's Day, free DQ was in order. I dumped my high school prom date 2 days before prom. She was sneaking around with a friend of mine, so I called her the Thursday previous and broke the news. There was total silence on the other end of the line for a few seconds. Then screaming. I hung up. A few minutes later her dad calls and tells me I'm not welcome at their house ever again. I said that's fair, and he hung up on me. Found out years later from my dad that he got a call from her dad asking for reimbursement for part of their costs. Dad told him no love you dad. Took a cute nicer girl I had a crush on from a nearby town instead. Almost got a lap dance in front of my classmates. Had a lot of fun, zero regrets. The dumpy became a total Bedford wife type, starchy middle Georgia oppressed woman. Giant nightmare bullet dodged. The moment I get behind the wheel. For context, I live in Utah. Is Utah bad with driving? Only been there once. The only state I think that is worse is probably California. It can't be that bad then, because CA has nothing on Massachusetts and Connecticut. Have you ever tried to drive in LA, the Bay Area, the Santa Cruz area, or anywhere in Sonoma County during rush hour? My friend from Connecticut was horrified by LA traffic. She sends me snaps of the traffic she contends with, but it's nothing by comparison. I'm sure other CA residents can give us more traffic horror cities. Those are just the ones I have personal experience in. I think Florida could give it a run for its money. One particular windows and siding company is notorious in my city for their aggressive marketing tactics. If they get your phone number they will spam call you with their telemarketing script no less than 3 times per day. They also send out door-to-door canvassers full time every spring and summer. Literally the 10th time they knocked on my door, I just flew into a screaming rage. I stopped short of committing physical violence, but my shouting voice got about the biggest workout it's ever seen. Still took them at least 5 minutes to get the hint and leave, and only then, because a neighbor joined in and stated she was calling 911 to have them arrested for trespassing. Have you watched White Gold on Netflix? You should. 3+4 cards. It was glorious. I did this recently, playing against my 6-year-old daughter. Getting that education started early. Someone's gotta introduce her to the harsh realities of this cruel world. Those cards cannot be stacked, though I guess it doesn't matter if it's only 2 people. TBF, even if you use them over multiple turns, as long as no one stops your turn or drops a reverse, it's still the same effect. Yeah, it's be more annoying if you had like 4 of the skip next person cards, Played each time it comes round. Oh sure, I'll just not get to play, shall I? I played pickup games of softball when I was in college, and there was this annoying guy who kept trying to tell everyone how to play, and he kept trying to tell us why we were playing it wrong. Meanwhile he couldn't hit a ball to save his life. Meanwhile I was improving every time we played a game and could actually catch a ball when it came to me. Anyways, I finally had enough one game and just flat out told him to shut up because I was so irritated. I was the only girl playing at the time and none of the guys ever told him to shut up. My cats decided to try and get near my computer. I use an open case, no side panels, due to how humid my area of the world is. It's an airflow thing, and my female cat decided to try and walk right beside it. I knew she'd get her tail tip taken out by a fan, so I had to grab her by their neck and basically fling her in a split second away from the computer. She looked a little emotionally distraught at not being able to explore, but I use a metal bladed fan and I'm not taking any chances. Live in Japan. Am white dude. Get stared at a lot. Sometimes they will even follow you around to get a good look. Staring is usually accompanied by an open, gaping mouth and a blank look. Occasionally they will even point. One day I just started staring back. Mouth agape. They didn't like that. They didn't like that at all. How rude. This seems to be a common thing in Japan. Don't stop telling the story there. What happened next? I worked in a supermarket in my second year of university, and this one lady came in and put her basket on the conveyor belt, and it rolled forward until it reached sensor and the belt stopped. She picked up the basket and put it at the other end, and of course it did the same thing again. And she tried a third time, and a fourth. I could have switched it off so it didn't do that, but surely she should have realized after the second time that's how it works. GF was always pulling this passive aggressive manipulative stuff on me. Oh sure, go have fun with your friends. I can't order you to be with me or have fun. I'll be home alone. She knew she could play me to the point I'd cancel my plans and apologize to her for hours and be with her instead. When enough was enough, I started taking everything she said literally. Alright, see ya tomorrow then. Bye. I try not to be that guy, but the odds of my having 100% success are slim. There are some situations where I won't go out of my way to deliberately be in soul, but in which I know uncomfortable feelings are going to get stirred up. Sometimes I just decide to do the best I can, and if the others think ill of me, well, that will be some information for me. Was in an alleyway having a panic attack. That's not relevant, and these two kids walked by. I was 16, they were younger, maybe 14. As he walked by he called me some colorful names, and for once in my life I stood up for myself. I went off on this kid saying a lot worse things than he did. He ran away crying, but I wasn't worried about it because I didn't touch him. I got into a fight with my roommate over the division of chores in our apartment. She proceeds to block me on Instagram, which is what she does whenever she gets mad at her supposed friends. I then block her and her boyfriend on all other social media and refuse to answer her text messages unless they are directly related to the apartment. I have no regrets. A kid in my class is constantly obnoxious, owes me money, and even bullied my friend a little last year. We were handing in graded work when he realized he needed to change an answer quickly, and instead of giving it back to him for a second I handed it to the teacher happily. After that he got angry at me, so I told the whole class that he owes me money and to sit down. Today actually. Took my younger cousin to lunch movies. Went to a sushi place, as he had never tried sushi before and wanted to. Watched him pick up the entire glob of wasabi on his chopsticks, and decided not to intervene while he put the whole thing in his mouth. Classic. That's an important life lesson he will never let you forget. A friend said I should regret what I did to her for the rest of my life. I had confessed to her that I had a crush on her ex-BF whom she dated for less than 3 months and broke up more than 6 months ago and F off from her life forever. I didn't ask the boy out. We needn't follow up on this man. Did you get him? When I looked at myself in a mirror trying to think of insults to call myself. There's a subreddit for that roast. I do this all the time. If you insult yourself it really thickens your skin. If someone says something mean just respond with old news. I said that to myself this morning. I'm selling a 10-day long festival pass online. The festival is in 1 month and the pass is being sold on the website for $300. I have mine listed at $260. Every person I come across offers me $200. That's when I pull out all stops. Went on a blind date double date and the only thing she would talk about was if her breast implants looked real enough. Tiresome is the only word that comes close to describing that evening. So I asked her if she was always this shallow. My buddy laughed. Girls got mad and left. Starting now at work. Got in trouble again for volunteering to help with another project. My boss is just looking out for me. She doesn't want me to be taken advantage of for my kindness, but I'm tired of the clear it with me before being nice to other teams email. Sigh. I'm a super nice, if chatty guy on multiplayer games. There was this one kid who kept blocking my movements and mix spamming trying to be funny but obviously wasn't. Last round I had enough and just popped him on the ground and let Kavira have at him, and yes, I watched her interrogate him. I was selling bus and tram tickets as a student job. The trams are every 10 minutes in the summer. A guy was really rude to me and screaming to give him a ticket. Now of course he was about to miss the tram. Unlucky for him, the machine for making tickets was really slow that time. I had to co-workers argue for 6 hours about rescheduling our weekly conference to a different time. It was 5 PM, and they still hadn't decided on the time. I yelled at them for wasting so much time and set the meeting time myself. Right after I got my electricity bill situation sorted, on the day, guys turn up at my door trying to sell me on switching to a different provider. Had enough of the stress at that moment, promptly shut the door in their faces. When the smelly old guy sat right next to me on the bus, started rubbing up against me and waving his hands in my face to ask what's your name? I just want to go home from work FFS. People constantly ask me to give them napkins at school. Eventually, I snapped at a person and started cursing them. But honestly, come on. Napkins aren't that expensive. The last time I picked up the phone from a telemarketer, they were trying to clean my carpets and I just kept asking them if they've seen my dad. Have you seen my dad?